You gotta love Jaguar. It's not very often they produce an all-new model and it's brilliant, but when they do, they give it the longest life possible and keep it going when other manufacturers would have killed them off long ago. One of the best examples of that is the Series 3 XJ. It was a revision of an already fairly dated car by that point, and it lasted from 1979 until the early 90s. Did it deserve to live that long, and why is it so fondly remembered today? Well, let's take this gorgeous Daimler 4.2 for a drive and find out. But first, our friends at Lancaster Insurance are running monthly giveaways. You can win all sorts, from experience days to tools, restaurant vouchers and tech. So click the link below at the end of the video to enter their latest competition. You might think that you can't teach an old cat new tricks, but Jaguar were ever determined to make the Series XJ relevant. Even though it came out in 1968, they were still trying to keep it current in 1979. The Series 3 facelift was penned by Pininfarina, and I have to say, I think it could well be the best looking of all the Series XJs. New bumpers, complete with chrome toppings, looked slimmer and more elegant than they did on the Series 2. Around the back there were slightly redesigned lights, and to the sides we got new flush-fitting door handles, and the quarter-light windows were deleted in favour of these new single-piece items, which again made the whole side profile of the car just look subtly classier and more modern. This was a classic face, but with just a subtle modern tweak to it that kept it stylish even in the late 70s and into the 80s. The theme of subtle modernisation continued to the interior. It was the same acres of lovely wood and soft leather that you got from Jags of old, but now cruise control was available, as was an electric sunroof. And from 1982, an LCD trip computer became available for that full 80s Knight Rider effect. Once again then, this was an old favourite that had matured nicely. As you might have noticed by the fluted grille and number plate plinth, this particular XJ is a Daimler model, the top of the range, and those few extra adornments make what is already a special car feel even nicer. And in truth, there are few cars that make you feel quite as special as a Series XJ does. Even today, that massive slab of wood on the dashboard, soft, sumptuous leather and chrome work wherever you look. This is a car that really does have a sense of occasion about it, and even has that gentleman's club Jag smell to it. The trouble is that, much like an old gentleman's club, Series XJs don't age particularly well in the quality stakes. Knock on any bits of trim in here and it all feels a bit handmade. Things flex, things rattle, headliners sag over time. It certainly doesn't feel mass-produced. But then, that is half the appeal of a Jag in the first place. It's meant to be something a little bit different. So the Series 3 then was much the same flawed but charming Jag experience we'd come to expect. But with those revisions made to the styling and the interior, it was maturing into the modern age. And that extended to the engines as well. The Series 3 got the same straight 6s and mighty V12 as the Series 2 XJ, but the 4.2 and the 5.3 now got Lucas fuel injection, which in the case of the 4.2, like we've got here, meant 200 horsepower, and that's enough for this old girl to get a fair old lick on when you hustle it. That glorious XK rumble sounds fantastic. Now, it is a wet day and this is someone else's car, so I'm not going to be driving this as aggressively as many Series XJ drivers did, but this remains a fantastic car to drive. It's incredibly composed for something so big and so soft in the corners. It stays nice and planted, and yet when you hit a bump like this one here, you don't really notice anything, even for thinking there wasn't a bump there. And it does it without any hydro-pneumatic trickery like you got on Citroens or indeed Rolls-Royces by now, just with classic suspension engineering, the same brilliant independent rear suspension that Jaguar had given us in countless cars leading up to this one. There's a reason they kept it going for over 40 years in fact. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, and when it's working well, it's working fantastically well. Makes the XJ a wonderful car to cruise in. So the Series 3 XJ then was just an updated flavour on an old favourite. it was still flawed, it was still a bit unreliable in places, the quality was still questionable, bits still fell off, and it was a bit dated by the 1980s, but it looked the part, it sounded the part, it very much still drove the part, and it made you feel special in a way that Jags always seem to. Well, it's not been the best weather today, but this Jag has brought the sunshine out. It's just a reminder of how brilliant the Series 3 XJ is and why it deserved to live for so very long. It's not as well-rounded, as well-made, or as technically impressive as a Mercedes S-Class, for example, but whereas the Mercedes brings solidity and quality and all-round efficiency to the package, the Jag has character, it's got charm, it's got imperfection, which is actually why we like classic cars in the first place. That's why so many people love these cars that you can quite easily pick holes in. It's not perfect, and it was arguably outdated long before it was killed off in the early 90s, but drive a nice example today on the right road, and the feeling it gives you makes you question why any of that matters.
This video is proudly sponsored by Lancaster Insurance. Give them a call on 01480 400 889 for an insurance quote on your classic car. And don't forget to click the link below to enter their latest competition.